From the dawn of civilization, as societies formed and laws were written, so too emerged the ultimate punishment, the taking of a human life by decree. It's a topic that stirs a primal curiosity within us, a dark fascination with the ends of justice and the methods humanity has devised to enforce it. Throughout history, across cultures and continents, the methods of execution have been as varied and at times as brutal as human ingenuity could conceive. From ancient rituals to modern machinery, these methods reflect not just the severity of crimes, but the values, fears, and technological capabilities of the societies that employed them. Today on Simple Schematic, we're going to systematically break down every major type of execution method known to history. We'll explore their mechanisms, their historical context, and the principles behind their often gruesome effectiveness. Be warned, the subject matter is inherently stark, but our goal is to understand the evolution of this ultimate sanction, one schematic at a time. Let's begin in antiquity, where execution often served as a public spectacle, a raw demonstration of power, and a symbolic purification of the community. These methods were frequently designed not just to kill, but to inflict shame, pain, or a prolonged demise. Crucifixion, dating back thousands of years, famously used by the Romans. The condemned was typically nailed or tied to a large wooden cross or structure, left to die from asphyxiation, as their arms became too weak to lift their body for breath, combined with dehydration and exhaustion. It was a slow, agonizing public display. Stoning, an ancient method found across many cultures, where a group of people would throw stones at the condemned until death. It was a communal act, often symbolic of societal rejection, with death resulting from blunt force trauma and internal injuries. Impalement, horrifically employed by various empires, including the Assyrians and Ottomans. A sharp stake was driven through the body, either from the anus or abdomen, and the victim was left to slowly die as the stake protruded. This could take hours, even days, ensuring a drawn-out, public agony. Burning at the stake, a method predominantly associated with heresy, witchcraft, and religious or political dissent in medieval Europe. The condemned was tied to a large stake surrounded by combustibles. Death could come from carbon monoxide poisoning, heat stroke, or agonizing burns, often taking considerable time depending on the fire's intensity. It symbolized purification by fire or the eradication of perceived evil. As societies grew more complex, so did their methods of execution, often becoming even more elaborate and brutal, emphasizing deterrence through extreme suffering and public spectacle. These were not just punishments, but theatrical warnings.
Drawing and quartering, Britain reserved for high treason. The condemned was drawn, dragged to the execution site, hanged but cut down before death, disemboweled, their entrails burned before them, and finally quartered, their body hacked into 4 pieces, which were then displayed across the kingdom. It was the ultimate degradation, designed to annihilate identity. Boiling to death. Used in parts of Europe and Asia, the condemned was slowly lowered into or placed in a cauldron of boiling water, oil, tar, or even molten lead. Death was agonizing, caused by thermal shock and severe burns. This was sometimes reserved for poisoners or coin forgers, symbolizing a purification or destructive justice. Pressing, peine forte dure, Britain. A grim method used to extract a plea from those who refused to cooperate in court. Heavy weights were gradually placed upon the chest of the accused until they either entered a plea or died from suffocation or crushing injuries. It was a brutal way to bypass a silent protest against the legal process. The breaking wheel, Catherine wheel, Europe, a brutal form of capital punishment where the condemned's limbs were tied to spokes on a large wooden wheel. The executioner would then smash the limbs with a heavy bludgeon, breaking bones. After breaking, the victim was often left on the wheel to die from shock, dehydration, or exposure. It combined torture with public display. While many methods aim for prolonged suffering, some cultures sought a swifter, more honorable death, especially for nobility or those considered of higher status. Decapitation was often seen as such. Beheading by axe or sword. A method used across many civilizations, from ancient Rome to medieval Japan and Europe. While intended to be swift, it required a highly skilled executioner. A clean strike severed the head, leading to instant death. A botched execution, however, could prolong the agony, making the skill of the executioner paramount. The guillotine, France. developed in the late 18th century as a more humane and egalitarian method of execution, intended to deliver a swift, clean decapitation regardless of social status. The heavy blade sliding down vertical post severed the head in milliseconds, supposedly causing instant death. It became a chilling symbol of the French Revolution's rapid justice. The late 19th and 20th century saw a global shift, at least in Western nations, towards methods perceived as more humane or less overtly brutal, often conducted in private rather than public spectacle. This was a response to evolving ethical standards and a desire to sanitize the act of execution. Hanging. Historically widespread, it gained prominence in the modern era as a seemingly quick method when performed as a long drop. The science involved calculating the precise drop distance to cause instantaneous fracture of the cervical vertebrae, severing the spinal cord, leading to immediate unconsciousness and rapid death. A short drop could result in slow strangulation. The electric chair, USA. Introduced in the late 19th century as an alternative to hanging, initially seen as a more modern and humane method. The condemned is strapped to a chair, and electrodes are attached, typically to the head and leg. Multiple powerful jolts of alternating current are passed through the body, aiming to cause immediate cardiac arrest and brain death. Despite its intention, early executions were often grisly, leading to burning flesh and visible suffering. Gas chamber, USA. Developed in the early 20th century, again in pursuit of a more humane method. The condemned is sealed in an airtight chamber, and a chemical reaction, often involving cyanide pellets dropped into sulfuric acid, creates lethal hydrogen cyanide gas. The gas causes rapid cellular anoxia, leading to unconsciousness and death from respiratory and cardiac arrest. This method, too, proved to be far from humane in practice, often involving visible struggle and prolonged suffering. Firing squad. One of the oldest methods still used in some places today. A group of shooters, often 5 or more, fire simultaneously at the condemned's heart. If done correctly, death is nearly instantaneous from massive blood loss and organ destruction. It is considered by some to be among the most reliable and immediate forms of execution when properly performed. Lethal injection, USA and others, currently the most common method in countries that still practice capital punishment. It involves a sequence of chemicals administered intravenously, typically a fast-acting anesthetic or sedative like midazolam to induce unconsciousness, followed by a paralytic like vecuronium bromide to stop breathing, and finally a drug like potassium chloride to stop the heart. While intended to be painless and dignified, controversies surrounding drug availability and botched executions have led to significant debate. Beyond the mechanics, the choice of execution method has always reflected evolving societal values and the perceived purpose of punishment. From brutal displays of retribution to attempts at humane justice, the methods mirror our changing understanding of crime, punishment, and human dignity. The shift from public spectacles to private executions and from physically brutal methods to seemingly medical ones represents a societal desire to distance ourselves from the inherent violence of capital punishment, even as it persists in many forms globally. Today, the debate over capital punishment continues worldwide. Many nations have abolished it entirely, viewing it as a violation of human rights and inherently cruel. Others maintain it for various reasons, including deterrence, retribution, or incapacitation, with lethal injection being the most prevalent method where it is still practiced. From the ancient cross to the modern chemical cocktail, humanity's methods of execution tell a stark story. They are a chilling mirror, reflecting our capacity for both incredible cruelty and a persistent, often conflicted search for justice and humanity, even in the face of death. The mechanisms may change, and the curtains may draw closed on public spectacle, but the fundamental question remains. What does it mean to wield the ultimate power over life and death? And how does society reconcile this power with its evolving sense of ethics? This topic compels us to look beyond the methods themselves and consider the profound human history behind every condemned life and every final moment. The intricacies of justice, morality, and ultimate consequence. What are your thoughts on this complex topic? Share them in the comments below. If you found this dive into the most severe punishments insightful, hit that like button and subscribe to Simple Schematic for more.